Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
Alright, people. We're Eddie Hearn. He was on TalkSport this morning. He was on with Laura Wood. And of course, I just find that very convenient, isn't it? Eddie Hearn, when all this Conor Benn stuff came out first, the first interview he gave was with Coogan. It was 40 minutes, 40 plus minutes of just tippy-toeing around everything, and it was pointless. And he's on now with Laura Wood. And why is that relevant? Because Laura Wood, obviously, is employed by DAZN. So, I always say, there's a conflict of interest there. And there was a lot of tippy-toeing around things. There was no real hard questions asked. But there was a few things Eddie Hearn said, which I really thought were interesting now. And specifically, it was one about Eddie Hearn basically said that the British Boxing Board of Control were the ones who leaked Conor Benn's failed drugs test, his failed VADA test, to the press. Now, again, there was no difficult questions asked. They brought up the B sample, and Eddie Hearn said there'll be a statement from Conor Benn in the coming days. That's about it. It was nothing to do with it's been tested, etc. Still holding on to this claim. Still saying that UCAD is the only body that British Boxing Board of Control recognise. Alright, which is completely ridiculous considering the fact that you look at the Dylan White situation, and it was, I believe, wasn't it UCAD who found those adverse fights in Dylan White's drug test in the Oscar Rivas fight, and then he turns around and says, well, it's not VADA, VADA are the ones we have to look at, and there's been other occasions, I think was it when Billy Joe Saunders failed for the nasal spray, and bear in mind he wasn't promoting Billy Joe Saunders at the time, he was up in arms about that, and etc, etc. So he picks and chooses, when it suits him. No, these are good. No, these are not good. These are good. These are not good, etc. He was saying basically that the British Boxing Board of Control, they knew prior to this fight being cancelled. Obviously we knew that this test, we know now that this test, it came out that they had the adverse findings sometime in September. Now, Eddie Hearn has said that those findings were then given to the British Boxing Board of Control. They were also given to Team Eubank, Cali Sauerland and Usman Boxing. Now, he claims that Team Eubank were happy enough to proceed with the fight, but he said the British Boxing Board of Control should have launched an investigation, which they didn't. He's also claiming that they took too long to make their decision. He said they only made their decision on fight week. They made their decision to pull sanction of this fight, so they were not going to sanction the fight. And then he said they were the ones who leaked it to the press. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily... We know this was leaked, but by who, we don't know. But Eddie Hearn actually said that it was the British Boxing Board of Control who leaked it. I don't know, was that maybe a Freudian slip or something? Because no one questioned them on that, subsequently. I find that one interesting. Now, he's obviously proclaiming that Conor Benn is innocent. I just find this whole situation a mess, and it doesn't look good for Eddie Hearn. I've said that once, I'll say it again. This is probably the biggest crisis he's had in his boxing career, and I don't think he's handled it well at all. I really don't. I think that maybe the best thing he could do would be to go on a show like TalkSport and just take the difficult questions. Go on with someone like Simon Jordan, rather than get the Coogans of the world, the Laura Woods of the world, who, let's be frank, Coogan is not going to upset the apple cart at all. He's not going to do that. The same with Laura Wood. The fact of the matter is, she is a DAZN employee. She presents for DAZN. You really think Laura Wood is going to grill Eddie Hearn on this, saying, where's the B sample? How come when it was Dylan White, it was UCAD, you didn't accept their results? You were saying, well, we go by VADA. How come now, when it's VADA, you're saying, oh, we don't accept their results, we go by UCAD? Where is all these inconsistencies, all these, contradictions that you've had over the years? Criticising if they're with a rival promoter and they fail. If this was, say for example, this was Errol Spence. Say for example, Errol Spence was fighting Terence Crawford and this situation happened. Do you really think Eddie Hearn would be saying, oh, let's wait, let's see, and, the Nevada State Athletic Commission shouldn't have done that? No, he'd be saying, get him out of the sport. And you can imagine that all of Eddie Hearn's, people like Tony Bellew, get him out of the sport, shame on Al Heyman, shame on the promoters, etc. That's exactly what they'd be doing. That's exactly what they'd be doing. So he says that we will get a statement from Conor Benn in the coming days with regards to everything. I believe the board have launched an investigation. UCAD have launched an investigation. And, Eddie Hearn was saying as well that, and again, this is what I would love for him to answer this question, because it was Gareth A. Davis who said that Conor Benn was only tested once by UCAD, which I find extraordinary if that's true. I mean, at the end of the day, you would think that if you're UCAD and you have a VADA, you're working with VADA, or maybe VADA are doing the testing, but you're in some sort of communication with VADA. If VADA say, we tested him, adverse finding, UCAD should be in like a hawk saying, right, we're testing you now as well. The fact of the matter is, if he's only had one test, that's crazy. And at the end of the day, Eddie Hearn was also saying, he's taken these tests with VADA and he's passed the first few. Why is it now he's failing? And he's like, he's trying to go around it. And it's, well, as you can tell by what was it, Dr. Usman, is that his name? Sajid Usman or something his name was, the doctor who was, I think he was working with Conor Benn, who was interviewed, where he said that you have to be an idiot basically to fail a test in the UK, because the way they drug test you, they have set times where they have to come. So between the hours of something like 10 to 7, they can't test you, stuff like that. They're not as, I don't say they're not as stringent, but he said between that time, if you are on something, you can flush it out real quick. And I've heard theories, not to say I buy a lot of these, but I've heard theories as to why Conor Benn and Team Eddie Hearn were so insistent on VADA testing being part of this. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're paying for VADA testing, why are you going to ignore the results? If you're so insistent on it. I've heard a few theories as to why that is. And I've heard some speculate it was to actually further drain Eubank Jr. more. And obviously Eubank Jr. didn't look particularly, he looked awful on the Saturday when he did his own little weigh in. He looked absolutely just so drawn in the face. I'm not saying I buy that, but it's something to think about. So that's the situation now with Eddie Hearn. I'll be honest, I didn't find much. You can go and listen, it's on TalkSport's YouTube channel. I didn't find much in the way of questions being answered, or asked for that matter, in the interview. At the end of the day, there's a lot of questions that I really do. For example, I'd love to know about Dylan White's B sample, which is 3 years now. But there's loads of more questions that should be asked of Eddie Hearn. I think, look, Eddie Hearn's not doing himself any favours. I think from a PR point of view, this whole situation looks so bad. I mean, when you see the casuals turn on Eddie Hearn, that's when you know something's up. Because this is the first time I've really seen the casuals proper turn on Eddie Hearn. The closest prior to this was when, now that wasn't even, I was going to say when Joshua fought Takam and it was the premature stoppage, but that was more Joshua. The fans were almost about to turn on, but Joshua was able to bring it back. This is probably the worst for Eddie Hearn in terms of PR publicity. And again, I think he's handled it the wrong way. I really do. And I think that going on getting interviewed by people like Coogan, no disrespect to him, but him and Eddie Hearn are buddies. Getting interviewed by someone like Laura Woods, who will more than likely be hosting the Zone show this Saturday. That to me just looks like such a conflict of interest. You're being interviewed by someone who, they don't work for you necessarily, they work for the Zone, but you're the main promoter on the show. You're the one who's basically, you're not going to bite the hand that feeds you, as the saying goes. So I think Eddie Hearn, realistically, and maybe even Conor Benn, sometimes maybe it would be best to just go and just take the difficult questions and just see what you can do. I think more people would respect it more if you just went and had someone who was impartial and said, right, here's the questions I have for you, answer them. And don't pussyfoot around them, just answer the questions. And why did you do this in the past? Just answer it. Don't care if I never get another interview. Don't care if you don't like me. These are the questions I want to be answered. These are the questions people want to know. Why aren't you answering them? That's what I think on that. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. British Boxing Board of Control, which is what the video was really about. Eddie Hearn saying that they were the ones who leaked this story to the press. Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts on that are. Of course, subscribe, of course, if you haven't already. Hit the like button. It's been helping out a lot lately. Smash it if you could, people. I'll do a midweek report later on this evening. We'll talk a bit more about this then. But until then, I'll talk to you, people. Peace.